Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. We're finally back with another talk video. Today's topics. We have hit the 1,000 subscriber milestone. Few things related to that. I want to say mostly a big thank you. Raven's Claw kit reveal. We'll break it down the way that we do here. Datacrons, I just want to touch on because it's something that when they were launched in the game, I just let go by unless you're on the Discord. Same deal with the Grand Inquisitor kit reveal, and his release into the game was a little too quick for me to address it on this channel, but I do want to give my review of the character, at least of the footage that I've seen, and we'll wrap up with the free-to-play gearing of my roster. A few days ago, we hit that 1,000 subscriber milestone. I really want to thank everyone for supporting me over the 2.5 years I've been doing this and growing this channel slowly. We're one of the smaller channels. We are growing steadily, but it's still a long process, and I'm happy that we have achieved this, because what this really means is you're going to be seeing a lot more from me. What monetization does for this channel and any channel is it's now a whole lot easier for me to justify staying up late, getting less sleep, if there's compensation for me, even if it's just a cup of coffee. Take most recently the Grand Inquisitor kit reveal. You didn't see me do a talk video for it because there was only a day for me, or a night for me, to work on that video. I didn't have the time for that first night. I tried to leave it for the next day, but by that time the update had gone live and he was going to be released that night. At which point, putting out a kit reveal and a breakdown after the character has gone live is no longer interesting or relevant, because we then shift to seeing the character in a live context, and reviewing the character is where we're at, and no longer in a speculation stage. So here I am tonight working on this video for the Ravenclaw, because with all that support that you have shown me, we've hit that milestone, and it is now a whole lot easier for me to justify staying up late. In recognition of hitting the milestone, we're going to do a contest or promotion in the lead up to the video that I've been planning for a while now to celebrate 1,000 subscribers. I've worked on a how much I've spent in this game video. It is a non-zero amount, but I do consider myself a free-to-play player. Just guess how much you think it is to the cent, and we'll play closest to the pin. We're going to do it over on the Discord, though. You can do it in DMs, but I've created a promotions channel for it as well. I get it if you're one of the YouTube commenters who don't want to go over to the Discord. I'm the same kind of person, but it's to prevent scamming. When Thunderwhack tried to do a promotion before, when he was working up to 1,000 subscribers, someone pretended to be a YouTube commenter and scammed him. I'm looking to avoid that. Discord will protect against it. So as a reward, I'm going to send the winner a Star Wars related sketch that I've made. This is something I've been thinking about for a while as a Patreon reward, but I'm going to start it here. The whole idea is to motivate myself to sketch more, and this also gives me an incentive to do it. I just want to be able to sketch like Dave Filoni. Like, I love storyboard artists and I love his sketches. So next week, along with the winner, I'll reveal the sketch. Contest is going to run for a week from today until next Wednesday, and I'll release the video along with the winner sometime after that. A nice post-Independence Day surprise: the Raven's Claw is coming to the game as a Galactic Chase release. We're going to break this down the way that we do here, focusing on the keywords so that we can simplify our understanding of what is going on here, to better prepare ourselves for a little bit of speculation. We're going to do this a little out of order. Sometimes we do this. With this kit, I think it's relevant. We're going to start with the uniques, move to the basic, special, and then the reinforcement hardware. With the uniques, first one up is battle flow manipulation. And for this entire kit, I'm just going to be saying allies, but it is understood that is non-scoundrel rebel allies, which means no Dash, no Millennium Falcon. They're out. I just don't want to have to be saying as they write in their kit throughout the entire time, non-scoundrel rebel ally. Anyway, that being said, Raven's Claw gains 40% max health for each ally at the start or as a reinforcement for the rest of the battle. Raven's Claw's attacks can't be evaded, and allies will gain 10% offense, except if Home 1 is the capital ship, which it will be. When Home 1 is the capital ship, allies instead gain 30% offense, so that's what's going to be happening. You're not going to be using this ship underneath a different capital ship. A random ally who didn't have defense up gains defense up for 1 turn at the start of each enemy's turn, and if an ally without defense up is damaged, that enemy is going to be inflicted with defense down. So I'm hoping the shared health along with the defense up means this ship can work at low stars and just get better as the farm moves along. There's a lot of added offense here too, so the combination of that boosted offense with the defense down should facilitate rapid takedowns. At least that's what it sounds like, but here's the concern. A lot of the ships that are expected to be used with the synergies aren't big damage dealers, so we will need to see this in action to make sure it functions as it reads. If it does not, what that means is there's probably another ship coming to unlock what's going on here. The second unique guided foresight. With this ability, whenever a qualified allied ship assists another qualified rebel ship, it gains foresight. And this is the important unique. Allied ships with foresight can ignore taunt effects if they attack an enemy without a taunt. Their foresight is dispelled. If Raven's Claw starts its turn with foresight, it will inflict target lock on a random enemy who didn't already have it for 2 turns, and that's unresistible. If Home 1, which it will be, whenever foresight expires, that ship gains offense up. So that means if you're targeting somebody without taunt, you will lose the foresight, gain offense up, and then whenever an enemy is inflicted with target lock, Raven gains foresight, and while Raven has foresight, it has plus 50 speed. Sounds like the timing of this is going to be pretty important. Getting offense up before using the assist is going to maximize the output damage. So if an assist call is in the pipeline or the Raven's Claw is about to attack, you have foresight up, you're going to be incentivized to target someone else to get rid of that foresight and make sure there's offense up. The other thing that is going to be important to pay attention to once this ship is available to test is going to be the speed of Raven's Claw, because it will not be starting out with foresight or target lock. You're going to need to get it out there on the field first to make sure Raven's Claw gets foresight, which will then start spreading target lock. That will be critical. And Biston's U-Wing is going to be the most likely candidate, so it sounds like that ship, if you haven't been working on it, it's time to make sure you have a good one. It's time for me to put that relic on that I've been delaying in order to maximize the utility here. And now for the basic force-guided laser cannons, physical damage to the target. If Raven's Claw had foresight, attack a second time and dispel buffs on the target. If the target had target lock, call another qualified ally to assist. And this is why we started with the unique. It's very likely Raven will have foresight at this point. If it has foresight, you can ignore taunt and go after whoever happens to have the target lock, because if Raven had foresight, it will have target lock spread to somebody else. You can then target that target lock. Someone will come to assist and spread some foresight, which will create this train of having offense up and foresight as things dispel, and you can spread around that target lock, spread around who you attack, ignore taunts, and do maximum amounts of damage. This basic ability is going to be pretty critical here, and with the Foresight synergy, you're going to have enough speed to be doing that basic often. Next up, we have the special Out of the Sun. It is a 4-turn cooldown. You're not going to be using it too often, but from how the kit functions, this is not the important part. The basic is what's really critical here. The special is an AoE physical damage and remove turn meter from the target. If home 1 is the capital ship, which it will be, that's going to be 100% turn meter, and it will inflict daze and target lock to the target. This is going to be a good and powerful ability, and this is where I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the possibilities for who it's going to counter. Because if you can get this ability out quickly, it could potentially disrupt the Executor, Finalizer, the Falcon fleets, Radis, because getting out there, removing that turn meter, inflicting the daze, that can disrupt how those other fleets function, especially the ones relying on the assist calls. And by removing that turn meter, it is going to make it more difficult for those other fleets to function as intended. Now let's do that final ability, the reinforcement. Your shields will fall. With your shields will fall, Raven gains crit damage up and stealth for 2 turns. Target enemy is inflicted with vulnerable, which again guarantees a critical hit if the ship can be critical hit, and that can't be resisted. It's a pretty weird reinforcement ability, that's why I was fine with leaving it last. Little synergy with the rest of the kit. Little direct synergy with existing ships, at least relevant ones, because like Wedge, technically there's some synergy, but by the time you call out both ships as reinforcements, it's no longer valid. So what it means is either there's another ship to come out which might take advantage of it a little bit more, or you don't want to use this ship as a reinforcement, which is the most likely scenario. This ship you're going to want to be using right away on the starting lines, and with all of those synergies within the uniques, that's pretty clear. Now with the synergies, important part here is to understand which ships have target lock, which ships have assists, which ships have foresight. Since with the Falcon gone, ships will assist a lot less. A lot of the assisting with the existing Rebel fleet is all coming from the Falcon's kit. So which ships is this going to be relevant for? That means Cassian's U-Wing and Ghost. Both of those have assist calls. With Ghost, you also have some target lock and foresight synergy with the Phantom. Having the two of those will also be making this fleet function a little bit better, also makes those pilots and having those ships at all as reinforcements relevant again, because for a while, Home 1 was just fine without using Ghost and Phantom. And Biston is the far and away clear ship that needs to be starting, because I'm suspecting you're going to need Biston to go first before the Ravensclaw, because you need to get foresight onto Ravensclaw. Nothing in the kit is going to allow it to have foresight to start. In order to do that, you need to get a target lock out there, which means Biston's U-Wing. That ship will put a target lock out there, which will then put a foresight onto Ravensclaw, which will give it its additional speed, and because it has foresight, it will then spread target lock, which will all help Biggs be super tanky. All the pieces are there, but what it does mean and sound like is that my hoped for X-Wing squadron may not be happening, which is a little disappointing. That is what I was hoping for out of these ships, and I'm not really seeing it unless this is the fleet that becomes the X-Wing Squadron. Maybe we should talk about this a little bit further into the developer insights. Let's just skip to it right now and talk about it. Down below, they make it very clear what I've been speculating on for a long time through several iterations of the quarterly speculation videos, which we're due for in the next week or so. It'll be very soon. I've been speculating on the profundity, which was all but confirmed when Admiral Raddus was released into the game. That was the purpose for adding Admiral Raddus. Now, if we have the profundity taking on the Millennium Falcon, the Y-Wing is going to join it, Dash is going to join it. The rest of the existing Rebel ships make a lot more sense with the Raven's Claw. The synergies that they show, pretty clear that those are going to function pretty well over there. Now, maybe Cassian is one that arguably could move over, but it seems much more likely that if we get any additional Rebel ship, Luke's X-Wing being one of them, the one that we're in dire need of, it's going to go over to the Falcon. That is where those ships are going to be going over to the profundity, and it's where there isn't already a clear use and need with how that will function, and whereas with the home one right now, it looks like we have a complete fleet. But again, that's what we need to see in testing. How good will this fleet be? As is, or will it look like it needs an additional ship in order to do the damage output or in order to get the proper turn order going? The only thing I want to add with the rest of the developer insights, most of this is pretty clear and has been broken down in the kit reveal, but now that we know how most of these ships are going to shake out, and it really does seem like the Rogue One ships are going to be with the Raven's Claw, it's just something a little weird and worth noting, is that Raddus, the Rogue One capital ship and pilot, will be with A New Hope characters, and the A New Hope capital ship is going to be with Rogue One pilots. Plenty of things like that within the game, whatever. I just felt like noting it. And now for Datacrons. I didn't pile on when these went live. I did talk a little about them on the Discord and as an aside in the Grand Arena videos, but I didn't include them in a talk video, partly because I just needed a little break while we were taking a break with Grand Arena. So I both agree and disagree with the common sentiments, but in a little different ways. Like, I think these are, yes, they're bad for the game, but I don't think they are predatory. They are greedy though, but when it comes to spending, I'll let the whales decide what things interest them or don't interest them in terms of spending. If they like it, fine. I don't know. I'd like to see a Cubs video, one of his whale chats about that. For me, what I don't like is that Datacrons have shrunk the valid ways of playing the game. And by that, I mean when it comes to any sufficiently complex game, there are a number of valid ways to play them. You can see this most obviously in MMOs and open world games. There's a great extra credits video about this, if you know that YouTube channel, where they break down different play styles. But the point is, there are different types of gamers, and a good game should appeal to the different play styles. There's completionists, collectors, explorers, there's the social guild person, player who wants to max out and go for metas, and a lot of us are some combination of these different archetypes. And we see this in SWGOH. There's players more active than others in guilds and on discords. Players who like to unlock everything quickly and have wide rosters. There's other players who just like to focus on galactic legends and metas. There's players who focus on territory wars instead of grand arenas. There's some players who like territory battles. There's a range of different players. There's players who love to get into the minutia of mods, and they may like the minutia of Datacrons. But what Datacrons have really done for me is it's shrunk that pool of valid ways to play the game. It's taken players specifically like me, free-to-play players who like to go wide and try to do more with less, and say that that kind of way of playing is now invalid. You will be hurt by continuing to purse it. You need to keep climbing and grinding. And they've done this already with journey guide stuff, where you now have GP gates and relic gates, which prevents a player like me from doing minimum stuff. And for me, that's disappointing. It means those characters that I have intentionally left at gear 11, that I like to showcase how powerful different gear levels can be, have to go to R3 or R5 in order to use Datacrons. That minimizes the fun I like to have in the game. And as a result, to this point, I've largely been disengaged with their addition to the game. You have to engage with them eventually. Right now, it's early enough that there's minimal downside, but as time goes on, that will cease to be the case. But I do wonder how it impacts the game as SWGOH begins to appeal to a smaller and more specific type of gamer. Because this used to be a game that had so many different valid ways of playing and having fun with and engaging with. And I think that's why it's been successful. And I worry that threatening the wide appeal of the game hurts the longevity. So at the start of the video, I touched on why there was no kit reveal breakdown talk video. Didn't have enough time to do it, but I do want to give a quick summary on what I did think of the kit and the character. I think the Grand Inquisitor is great. Like, he was exactly what the Inquisitorious faction needed to make Inquisitors relevant. I thought the Territory War Omicrons were pretty shocking, because I was pretty certain that he was going to have some sort of functionality that made the rest of those Omicrons worth doing. Now they're not, because you don't see Jedi very often other than JMK in Territory Wars. So the rest of those Omicrons you should not put on. And the Territory War Omicrons on Grand Inquisitor, maybe one of them, I'd have to revisit it, but I think one of them was definite if you care about Territory Wars. A second one of those was debatable, and a third one don't even put on. The unique and the leadership make him very usable in Grand Arena. The shared stats, especially a lot of the things being unique focused and unique heavy, allows you to swap in those other leaders if needed. I thought that was a nice aspect of his kit. I need to do more watching of his videos now, though, that we have him active in Grand Arena post-release. We've got a week of that now. That wasn't the case. Specifically, I want to see how he does up against Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron. But I'm happy enough with him as is. Like, there's arguments to be made if the investment is worth it. Especially now that we have the Raven's Claw coming to the game, which makes getting Starkiller even more fantastic. The investment value of going after Starkiller is far better. But if we step back, don't look at the context, and just look at what Grand Inquisitor does for the faction itself, I'm very happy. In terms of the investment, Starkiller is fantastic, and so fantastic that I've been saying for new accounts that it's probably very much worthwhile to go after Starkiller instead of a Galactic Legend. It just makes that case even stronger. It's what I'm going to be doing on the alt account at some point. But it is a great character to pursue now. It's a small investment for a pretty good payoff. It's limited with the amount of GLs you can go after, but it's a near GL level for a very cheap price. Cheaper than a lot of the other options within the early game right now. And now to wrap up with the free-to-play gearing of my roster. This is the gearing I did on May 30th. This was a while ago, and it shows how long it's been since there was a talk video. This is what I was working on. This was mainly a lot of relic level increasing. So this is when I finished off Ninth Sister. So this was a bit ago because I'm much further along than on the Inquisitors, but we'll have a number of talk videos coming out where we'll get caught up on these. But I didn't do too many periods of gearing. I'm just evaluating if I want to go even higher, and I do. With the I'm going to do this in my single shard farming guide, so I won't talk too much more about that. But Eighth Sister, this is when or Eighth Brother, took him up to 4 stars. He's already at 6 stars. I just got him to 6 stars a day or two ago. Mace, I am increasing relic levels on Commander Ahsoka. Just a number of characters needed to be a lot beefier, and as I was replacing a lot of the Kairos that I had been spending, which limiting the amount of additional gearing I can be doing on the rest of the Inquisitors, I did have the resources to beef up a number of my relic characters, and that was the big thing I wanted to do here, was just make a number of these characters better. Especially in that 3v3 context where you get a lot more added benefit from those increased relic levels, especially when you want characters who can potentially solo or who need to stand up to some things. Jedha Consular is just such an easy character to gear, and I'm at a point in my roster where I can do these kinds of luxury things. I just did it. I'm going to do a few more of these because I can do those kinds of luxury things. We do Relic 5 on Maul as well. One thing I wasn't careful about though is the golden eyeballs, that other piece that I know players run out of the piece that you get from the daily challenges. It's just, I had for so long gotten away with that because I've been very slow and deliberate about increasing my gear levels that I never needed to worry about it. It never outpaced my gearing. Apparently has now. I've got way more of the golden eyeballs than that piece from the daily challenges. As you can see, just a bunch of R5s is really what we did here this period. And I wanted to work on the Shakti stuff for the guild. I know I held off. I got to it like the next day. So won't be in this video, but the other things was taking the rest of those characters up to R4 for Shakti purposes. Thank you again sincerely to everyone for all of the support and encouragement over the past 2.5 years as I've been working on this and just grinding away at this channel. There's a number of videos in the pipeline. Already have it scripted and the graphics made for the single shard drop farm video that will be out in about 2 days. Prior to then, already uploaded and ready to go is the alt account Grand Arena that's been edited together and is set. I just like to just do one video a day. I don't do this professionally like Arnold. I can't be putting 2-3 videos out on a single day. One video at a time. That'll just keep me going. But thank you again to everyone. Be safe out there. Be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.